HOA president was calling 911 on me while standing on my property, surrounded by 50 party guests she'd invited to celebrate at my lake without permission. This was the same dock where my father taught me to fish, where I scattered his ashes 6 months ago after COVID-19 took him, where his memory lived in every ripple on the water she now claimed belonged to her neighborhood. What she didn't know, as those police cruisers rolled up, lights flashing, officers approaching, was that the grieving fisherman in the worn vest wasn't just defending his inheritance. I was the FBI special agent in charge of Atlanta's field office, and I was about to call backup she never saw coming. Have you ever watched someone throw a party on your property without asking? Has a neighbor ever claimed they had rights to something you own? Has an HOA president ever told you what you can't do with your own land? This Karen thought community betterment meant stealing an 8-acre lake for her parents' anniversary, until she learned one critical detail about who she was stealing from. Stay with me to watch how an FBI agent dismantles an HOA tyrant using nothing but documentation, patience, and one phone call to his daughter. If you've ever dealt with entitled neighbors who think your property is theirs, hit that like button. This Karen's about to learn a lesson in property rights she'll never forget. Let me take you back to the morning this nightmare started. June 12, 2021, 3 months after I buried my father. I arrived at my father's lake at 8 a.m. on a Saturday to find the gate chain cut and 50 strangers unloading party supplies onto my private dock. Every Saturday since Dad died in March, I'd made this drive. 30 minutes from downtown Atlanta to DeKalb County, through neighborhoods still wearing pandemic scars, empty storefronts, memorial signs, the weight of 17,000 Georgian lives lost. The 8-acre property sat behind a fence I'd helped Dad build in 1998. Private property, no trespassing signs every 20 feet, clear, unambiguous. But someone had used bolt cutters on the gate lock. The evidence lay on the gravel, metal teeth still shiny. Catering trucks blocked my access road. A massive banner stretched across the dock, celebrating 50 years, the Crowther family. Workers strung lights in the oak trees Dad and I planted when I was 12. Someone was installing a sound system where his fishing rod still hung on the wall. The humid morning air smelled like fresh-cut grass from the neighboring subdivision. Temperature already 82 degrees. Generators roared. Strangers trampled the shoreline where I'd scattered Dad's ashes 3 months ago. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. This sacred space violated. I stepped out of my truck wearing the same faded fishing vest Dad gave me for my 30th birthday. Casual clothes, weathered boots. But my eyes swept the scene the way 20 years of FBI training had taught me. Methodical, observant, missing nothing. The workers ignored my polite wave. "Excuse me," I called. "This is private property. You need to stop." A caterer glanced up, shrugged. "Lady who hired us said this was community property." I walked closer, kept my voice calm. "It's not. I'm the owner." "Who hired you?" He pulled out a contract. Showed me the signature. Belinda Crowther, HOA President, Lakeview Estates. "She'll be here soon," he said. "Talk to her." More vendors arrived every minute. Setup accelerated. Party scheduled for 2 p.m., 6 hours away. This property represented my last physical connection to Roland Caldwell. The deed transferred to my name March 15, 2021. Clear title. Paid taxes. Legally mine. And someone was stealing it in broad daylight. I pulled out my phone. Started documenting. Photos of the cut lock. Video of workers trespassing. Timestamps on everything. I made a decision. I'd wait for the boss lady. Let her explain herself. Give her one chance to do the right thing. I moved my truck to block the access road. No one else gets in. At 8:47 a.m., a pearl-white Lexus SUV pulled up, blocked by my truck. The woman who stepped out wore a cream pantsuit and carried a clipboard like a weapon. She didn't knock on my window. She didn't introduce herself. She just tapped on the glass with one manicured nail and said 5 words that told me everything I needed to know. "Move your vehicle. This is mine." The woman who thought she controlled an 8-acre lake she didn't own made her first mistake the second she opened her mouth. She stood 5'6" in designer heels, but she carried herself like she was 10 feet tall. Mid-50s. Perfectly styled blonde hair, expensive jewelry that caught the morning sun. The clipboard wasn't just an accessory, it was armor, evidence she believed paperwork equaled authority. Behind her, party workers had stopped to watch. Phones were already out. Someone was filming. I rolled down my window, stayed seated. Kept my voice level. "Ma'am, I need everyone off this property immediately. This is private land." She didn't even look at me. Lakeview Estates has recreational easement rights to this lake. Check your HOA bylaws. Now move this truck before I have it towed. I stepped out, stood my ground. "I'm not part of your HOA. This is my property. I inherited it from my father 3 months ago." She finally made eye contact. Her expression dripped dismissal. "Honey, I don't know what your father told you, but this lake has been community adjacent for 30 years. Neighbors have always had access. That doesn't just stop because someone died." The words hit like a slap. Because someone died. My father wasn't someone. He was Roland Caldwell. He built this place. He taught kids to fish here. He invited friends as guests, not because they had rights, but because he was generous. I pulled the property deed from my glove box, handed it to her. "This shows clear title in my name. Transfer date March 15th, 2021. No easements, no shared access, private property." She barely glanced at it. Anyone can forge a deed. My jaw tightened. Training kicked in. Stay calm. Don't escalate. "My attorney will handle this Monday," she continued. "The party is happening today, with or without your cooperation." She turned to her workers. "Continue setup," I spoke clearly, firmly. "If anyone remains on this property in 10 minutes, I'm calling the sheriff." Belinda smiled, the kind of smile that said she'd won battles like this before. "Call whoever you want, sweetheart. I already did." Have you ever dealt with someone so convinced they're right that facts don't matter? What did you do? Tell me in the comments. 2 DeKalb County patrol cars pulled through the open gate at 9:03 a.m. Belinda's smile widened as she walked toward them, clipboard ready, performance prepared. What she didn't notice, what her confidence wouldn't let her see, was that both officers had already recognized my truck. One of them had worked a joint task force with the FBI last year. The other was married to an agent in my office. Belinda was about to learn that calling the police wasn't always the power move she thought it was. She thought the police would remove me from my own property. She had no idea they were about to ask me for guidance. 2 patrol cars stopped near the dock. Officers Chen and Rodriguez stepped out. Professional, neutral, ready to sort out whatever complaint had been called in. Belinda immediately approached, commanding their attention. "Officers, thank God you're here. This man is trespassing on HOA recreational property. He's threatened my workers and refused to leave. I need him removed immediately." She referenced her position as HOA President 3 times in 30 seconds. Showed her clipboard with party permits. For her community, not this lake. Chen and Rodriguez exchanged a glance. Asked to see documentation. Belinda provided HOA bylaws, community use agreements. Internal documents that looked official but proved nothing about ownership of this property. "Ma'am," Rodriguez said carefully, "these documents only cover Lakeview Estates, not this lake." "It's the same thing," Belinda insisted. "Community adjacent, recreational access." I stepped forward, arms visible, non-threatening. "Officers, I'm the property owner. I have deed, title insurance, and tax records showing this land belongs to me." I pulled out the documentation. Clean, comprehensive, legally bulletproof. Chen studied the papers. His eyes widened slightly. "Wait, Agent Caldwell?" I nodded. Didn't elaborate. Rodriguez recognized the name immediately. His posture shifted. Professional respect replaced neutral authority. Belinda's confusion broke through her confidence. "Agent? What agent?" The officer stepped away from her, reviewed my documents more carefully. The deed. The inheritance paperwork dated March 2021. Tax records showing Trevor Caldwell as owner of record. Photos of the cut gate lock. Their body language changed completely. Chen turned to Belinda. His voice remained professional, but the tone had shifted. "Ma'am, this property belongs to Mr. Caldwell. Your HOA has no legal claim here. You need to remove your event immediately or face trespassing charges." Belinda's face flushed red. "This is ridiculous. The community has used this lake for years. His father never complained." "My father invited people as guests," I said quietly. "That's not an easement. That's hospitality. You can't just cancel a 50th anniversary party." Tears formed in her eyes, calculated or genuine, hard to tell. Rodriguez tried to explain trespassing law, but Belinda cut him off. Fine. Call your supervisor. Call the FBI if you want. I know my rights." She jabbed her finger toward me. "This lawsuit is going to cost you everything your dead father left you." The words hung in the humid air. Rodriguez froze. Chen's jaw tightened. When someone lies to police about you on your property, how do you stay calm? Drop your answer below. And I made a decision that would change everything. I pulled out my FBI credentials and my phone. Time for Belinda to meet the backup I'd been avoiding calling. One phone call to my daughter would bring more firepower than Belinda's entire HOA board could comprehend. I displayed my FBI badge and ID calmly, professionally. Let the officers see what Belinda was really dealing with. Her confusion turned to visible shock. Party guests murmured, phones still recording. This was getting interesting. I addressed the officers first. "Officer Chen, I appreciate your assistance. I'm going to handle this through proper channels." Then I looked directly at Belinda. "I'm calling my insurance company. They'll want documentation of the property damage and trespassing for the claim." Her false confidence returned instantly. "Insurance? For what damage?" "All we did was prepare for a family celebration." She turned to her workers, voice rising. "We're not going anywhere. Continue setup." I dialed. Put the phone on speaker. Let everyone hear. "Nina, it's Dad. I'm at the lake. I need you to bring the Heritage Shield policy documents." My daughter's voice came through, professional, sharp, all business. "What happened?" "Trespassing, property damage, about 50 witnesses. How fast can you get here?" 20 minutes. Don't let anyone leave." Belinda's face cycled through emotions like a slot machine. Confusion, dismissal. Then the first real flicker of concern. She didn't know who Nina was. She didn't know Heritage Shield Insurance held comprehensive documentation on every square inch of this property. She didn't know that Nina Caldwell, senior claims manager, had been preparing for potential liability issues since the day I inherited the lake. She didn't know the survey completed 8 weeks ago definitively proved private ownership with 0 easements. Belinda escalated anyway. "This is harassment. You're trying to intimidate me." She threatened her own lawsuit, emotional distress, traumatized guests. She demanded the officers arrest me for false imprisonment because my truck blocked the road. Chen shook his head. "Mom, no one is imprisoned. They can walk out. Your crew drove onto private property without permission." Rodriguez added his agreement. Neither would take action against me. Both suggested Belinda should consider leaving before the property owner filed charges. The party start time was now 90 minutes away. Belinda's phone kept buzzing, more vendor calls, all blocked by my truck. Her parents expected to arrive at 1:30 p.m. Social media posts from confused guests were already going live. If someone invaded your property and then threatened you with a lawsuit, how would you react? Tell me below. Belinda pulled out her own phone, fingers shaking with rage. "Fine. If you want to play games, I'm calling my attorney. Harold Mitchum doesn't lose. He'll have this entire charade shut down before your daughter even gets here." She didn't see Rodriguez and Chen exchange another look. Mitchum was a local real estate attorney, decent for HOA disputes, completely outmatched for what was coming. Belinda had just brought a lawyer to a federal investigation. She'd called the police, called her attorney, and still believed she'd win, because no one had ever made her lose before. Harold Mitchum arrived in a BMW at 9:35 a.m. 60s, confident walk, expensive briefcase. He'd handled Lakeview Estates matters for years. Belinda greeted him like reinforcements had arrived. They conferred briefly. He reviewed her HOA documents, glanced at my deed, spoke with the officers about the situation. Then he approached me. Professional, but dismissive. "Mr. Caldwell, I'm Harold Mitchum, representing Mrs. Crowther and Lakeview Estates HOA. I understand there's been a misunderstanding about property access rights." "No misunderstanding," I replied. "This is private property. They're trespassing." "Well, that's debatable. Historical community use can establish implied easements. We have documentation of recreational access dating back years." I didn't engage in legal debate, just stated facts. "I have deed, title, and tax records. I never granted permission. Your client cut my gate lock. That's criminal damage." Belinda kept checking her watch, fielding anxious calls from family, guests asking when they could access the venue. Mitchum tried a different approach. "Mr. Caldwell, what if we allow today's event to proceed? We'll work out compensation afterward. Resolve the property dispute Monday. Consider it a neighborly gesture." I looked at him, at Belinda, at the decorations on the dock where I'd scattered Dad's ashes. "Mr. Mitchum, my father died 6 months ago. I scattered his ashes from that dock where your client put up party decorations without asking. This isn't about property law. It's about respect. The answer is no." The words landed hard. Officers looked sympathetic. Some workers shifted uncomfortably. Belinda showed no remorse. "That's not my problem." Mitchum's irritation broke through. "Mr. Caldwell, you're being unreasonable. Canceling this celebration will cause significant financial harm to my client. Caterers, rentals, disappointed family." My voice went ice cold. Then she should have asked permission before spending money on someone else's property. Belinda lost what remained of her composure. "This is absurd. You can't just—" Mitchum tried to calm her. She shook him off, turned to the workers. "Everyone continues setup. He can't stop us." Workers hesitated, looked between Belinda and the officers. One caterer started unloading again. I didn't move. just watched. Chen and Rodriguez stepped forward. "Ma'am, you need to stand down." Belinda's final play came out as a shriek. "You know what? Fine. Let him call his daughter. Let him waste everyone's time with insurance paperwork. This lake has been used by this community since before he was born, and one little deed doesn't change reality." Have you ever watched someone dig themselves deeper because they refuse to admit they're wrong? What happened next? Share below. A silver Honda Accord pulled up behind the patrol cars at 9:58 a.m. Nina stepped out carrying a leather briefcase that looked expensive enough to be evidence. She was dressed in business attire, navy blazer, tailored pants, and her expression was the one I recognized from childhood. The look she got when someone made the mistake of underestimating her. She walked past Belinda without a glance, past Mitchum without acknowledgement, straight to me. "Dad," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I brought everything. Title insurance, property survey, liability policy, and the security footage from the cameras you installed last month." Belinda's face went white. "Cameras?" My daughter opened her briefcase and pulled out 3 decades of proof that Belinda's community property claim was a fantasy. Nina addressed everyone present, officers, Belinda, Mitchum, the recording guests. "My name is Nina Caldwell, Senior Claims Manager at Heritage Shield Insurance. This property is insured under policy HPS 4-7821. I'm here to document trespassing and property damage for our claim investigation." She handed the first document to Mitchum. Professional survey completed April 2021. Page 3 shows 0 recorded easements. Page 7 shows the fence line matches legal boundaries exactly. 8.2 acres, fully fenced, entirely private. Mitchum studied it carefully, his confidence visibly shaken. He whispered something to Belinda. She insisted he was wrong, that he was missing something. Nina didn't wait for their reaction. She pulled out the title insurance. Complete title history back to 1991. Roland Caldwell purchased this property outright. No HOA involvement at any point. Clear chain of ownership to Trevor Caldwell. No encumbrances, liens, or restrictions. Belinda's hands trembled. That can't be right. Neighbors have always fished here." I kept my voice calm. My father invited friends to fish with him, as guests. That's not an easement, that's hospitality. Nina produced printed records. Her tone remained professional, but each word landed like a hammer. Lakeview Estates HOA was founded in 2015. This property has been privately owned since 1991. There is no historical community use because your HOA didn't exist for the first 24 years of this lake's existence. The crowd went silent. Nina pulled out her tablet, queued up video footage. Cameras installed May 15th, motion activated, cloud backup. The footage showed everything. Timestamp 6:23 a.m. Belinda's crew arriving with bolt cutters. Clear shot of the lock being cut. Workers unloading without hesitation. Belinda arriving at 8:47 a.m., directing setup, no attempt to verify ownership. Officer Chen leaned forward. "That's criminal damage to property, criminal trespass, and conspiracy, all on video." Mitchum's professional retreat was immediate. "Mrs. Crowther, I need to speak with you privately, now." Belinda refused. "No, someone faked this. The footage is edited." Nina's response was ice cold. "It's time-stamped, geotagged, and backed up to Heritage Shield secure servers. Our forensic team can verify authenticity. Would you like us to?" Belinda's hands started shaking, makeup running from stress sweat, voice rising in pitch. Party workers backed away from her. Mitchum raised his palms in surrender. "Mr. Caldwell, Ms. Caldwell, Officers, Lakeview Estates HOA will remove all materials from this property immediately. Mrs. Crowther, I strongly advise you to comply. No. No. My parents' party is in 3 hours. When concrete evidence destroys someone's lives, should you feel sympathy, or is this just justice? Tell me what you think. Mitchum actually backed up, looking defeated. Belinda, I can't represent you if you're going to ignore legal reality. This is criminal territory now. He looked at me, then Nina, then the officers. I withdraw as counsel, effective immediately. He walked to his BMW and drove away, leaving Belinda standing alone, guests filming, workers frozen, and her parents' anniversary party collapsing in real time. That's when she made the decision that would destroy everything she'd built. Everyone stay. I'll pay you double. This isn't over. 50 guests with phones captured the exact moment an HOA president chose destruction over surrender. Party guests kept filming. Several were live streaming on social media. Workers documented everything for their own protection. Officer Rodriguez's body cam recorded. Nina's professional documentation continued. Belinda's voice went shrill. I don't care what these documents say. I don't care about cameras. This party is happening. She turned to the caterer. Set up the tables. I'll pay you cash. Right now. To the decorators. Finish the lights. Don't listen to them. The caterer hesitated. Ma'am, this is criminal trespass. We can't. I'll double your fee. Triple it. The decorator was already packing equipment. We need to leave. This isn't worth it. The sound tech loaded his van without a word. Officer Chen stepped forward, his patience exhausted. Mrs. Crowther, you're now willfully continuing criminal trespass after being informed of the law. I'm giving you one final warning to vacate this property. Belinda's breakdown reached full display, face red, jabbing her finger at me. You're doing this on purpose, at Nina. You're helping him ruin people's lives, at the officers. You're supposed to serve the community, guests murmured. Some started leaving on foot, walking around my blocked truck. Others recorded more intensely. Comments flooded live social media streams. Nina photographed everything, recorded Belinda's statements, time-stamped each moment, built a comprehensive insurance claim. I checked my phone, notifications exploding. Dad, Nina said quietly, you're already trending on neighborhood Facebook groups. The post showed, Lakeview Estates HOA President Trespassing Drama, Live. Multiple live streams running simultaneously. Lakeview HOA trending locally. Comments flooding in. Other Lakeview residents joining threads. Mentions of always knew she was power-hungry, and finally someone stood up to her. Belinda noticed the phones everywhere. Stop recording, all of you. This is a private event. A guest called out from the crowd. On someone else's private property? Laughter rippled through the group. Humiliation registered on Belinda's face. Then her parents arrived. An elderly couple, confused, approaching on foot, dressed in anniversary attire, carrying gifts. Belinda? What's happening? Where's the party? Her mother's voice cracked with concern. Belinda started crying. Mom, this man won't let us use the lake. Her father looked around, saw the police, the cameras, the chaos. What lake? I thought you rented a venue? I did. This is the venue. It's community property. Her mother's face fell. Oh, Belinda, what did you do? What would you sacrifice to stand up for what's right? How do you measure the cost of fighting versus the cost of surrendering? I want to hear your philosophy. Belinda's father pulled her aside, his voice low but caught on someone's phone mic. You told us you had a venue. You said everything was arranged legally. Did you lie to us about this party? Belinda opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came. Her mother started crying harder, and Officer Chen reached for his citation pad. Mrs. Crowther, I'm issuing a criminal trespass citation. You have 10 minutes to remove yourself and all materials from this property, or you'll be placed under arrest. The live stream viewers hit 847 people. While Belinda melted down at my lake, Lakeview Estates residents were learning what their HOA president had really been doing. The live stream spread across platforms. The Lakeview Estates community Facebook page flooded with posts. Next door exploded. Comments multiplied. Local Atlanta suburb groups picked up the story. The comment threads told a damning story. Wait, Belinda did this without permission. I thought she got approval. This is insane. She told everyone the venue was confirmed. Anyone else getting tired of her "what's good for the community" speeches? She fined me $400 last month for leaving my trash can out too long. Karma. Residents started comparing notes. Similar stories of Belinda's overreach emerged. Someone created a Belinda's violations thread. 47 comments in 20 minutes. One user posted, "She threatened to put a lien on my house over a fence that was 100% legal. Cost me $2,000 in attorney fees to prove her wrong." Another wrote, "She told me the playground was closed for safety violations, but never showed any inspection report. My kids had nowhere to play for 6 months." A third chimed in, "Does anyone remember when she tried to take over the park across from our subdivision?" Same tactic, claimed it was underutilized community-adjacent property. The pattern became clear. Belinda had a history of claiming property beyond HOA boundaries. Multiple legal threats against residents, selective enforcement of rules, using her position for personal benefit. Back at the lake, the evacuation began. Workers packed equipment quickly. Caterers loaded trucks. Decorators took down lights. The banner came down from the dock. Belinda stood frozen, watching her party disintegrate. Her parents prepared to leave. Her mother addressed the guests on foot. "We're so sorry. The party is canceled. We had no idea." Her father turned to Belinda one last time. "We'll talk about this later, at home." They walked away. Belinda called after them, "Mom, Dad, I can fix this." They didn't turn around. Officer Chen issued the citation. Criminal trespass charge. Court date assigned. Warning about returning to the property. Notice of potential additional charges. Belinda's last stand attempt was desperate. "You've ruined everything. I hope you're proud." I kept my voice quiet, firm. "You did this to yourself. You could have asked permission. You could have rented an actual venue. You chose this." Nina finished her insurance assessment. Gate lock damage, $340. Lawn damage from vehicle traffic, $1,200. Dock wear from unauthorized installations, $850. Total documented damages, $2,390. Heritage Shield will be filing a claim for property damages, Nina told Belinda. You'll receive formal notice within 48 hours. The social media reach kept growing. Livestream peak viewers, 1,247. Shares across platforms, over 300. Local news outlets picking up the story. HOA President Trespassing trending in the Atlanta area. Would you want your HOA president's overreach exposed like this? Or is public humiliation too far? Tell me your thoughts. By 11:30 a.m., the lake was empty except for me, Nina, and 2 patrol cars documenting the scene. My phone buzzed. An email from someone named Robert Chen. Subject line: Lakeview Estates Board Member, urgent. The message was short. Mr. Caldwell, I sit on the HOA board with Belinda. I just saw the videos. None of us knew what she was planning. Can we meet? Some of us want to fix this before she destroys the entire community. The other board members didn't know. Belinda had gone rogue. Belinda thought the HOA board was her kingdom. She had no idea they were about to become her jury. Robert Chen called an emergency board meeting for 6 p.m. that evening. All 7 members attended at the Lakeview Estates clubhouse. Belinda arrived expecting support. The board composition was diverse. Robert Chen, treasurer and retired accountant. Patricia Williams, secretary and paralegal. James Okonkwo, vice president and engineer. 3 at-large members, and Belinda as president. Robert opened the meeting with surgical precision. We need to discuss today's incident at the Caldwell property. Belinda went defensive immediately. That was a misunderstanding. Legal will handle it. Patricia didn't hold back. Belinda, I've seen the videos. So has everyone in the neighborhood. That wasn't a misunderstanding. James leaned forward. Did you get board approval to use that property? I didn't need approval for community events. Robert's voice went cold. That wasn't community property. Did you verify ownership? I did my research. Patricia stood. Then why are you facing criminal charges? The questions multiplied. Who authorized spending HOA funds on this event? Why wasn't the board informed of the venue? Has this happened before with other properties? What other decisions has Belinda made unilaterally? Belinda's defense crumbled into anger. I've been president for 2 years. I've improved this neighborhood, increased property values. You're turning on me because of one mistake. Robert pulled up spreadsheets on his laptop. Show us the authorization for today's expenses. It was going to be reimbursed by attendee contributions. James's voice carried disbelief. You used HOA funds for your parents' personal party? Robert turned his screen around, showed the board what he'd found. I've been reviewing accounts since this morning. Belinda, can you explain these withdrawals? $3,400. Community event catering, today's party, $1,200. Recreational facility rental, the lake she didn't rent, $890. Legal research, property rights. Attorney consult for taking my land. Patricia's shock was audible. You spent $5,500 of community funds on a private party? It was for the community. My parents are longtime residents. James delivered the killing blow. Your parents don't even live in Lakeview Estates. Silence filled the room. An at-large member spoke up. How many other expenses need review? Robert's answer chilled the room. I'm finding irregularities going back 18 months. Belinda tried desperation. This is a witch hunt. You're all jealous that I actually get things done. Patricia stood again. Belinda, I'm calling for a vote of no confidence. James seconded immediately. The discussion outlined multiple violations of fiduciary duty, use of HOA funds for personal benefit, criminal charges pending, damage to community reputation. Robert called the vote. All in favor of suspending Belinda Crowther from HOA presidency pending investigation. 6 hands raised. Only Belinda's stayed down. Have you ever watched someone lose everything because they refused accountability? What did it teach you? Comment below. Belinda stood. Her chair scraped loud in the silent room. You'll regret this, all of you. When the lawsuits start, when property values drop because of that man's refusal to cooperate. Robert cut her off. Belinda, turn in your keys to the clubhouse and HOA files. You're suspended effective immediately. She grabbed her purse, hands shaking. At the door, she turned. I built this community. Without me, you're nothing. Patricia's voice followed her out. Without you, we might actually be legal. The door slammed, and Robert looked at me. I'd been invited to observe, with an expression that said the investigation was just beginning. Removing Belinda from power was step 1. Discovering what she'd done with that power was step 2. Robert Chen led the financial audit. Patricia reviewed all legal correspondence. James examined property and facilities decisions. They brought in an outside accountant within 48 hours. The discoveries came fast. $23,000 in consulting fees paid to a company owned by Belinda's brother. $8,400 in community improvement spending with no documentation. $12,000 in legal fees for property disputes never disclosed to the board. Vendor contracts awarded without competitive bidding. The property overreach pattern extended beyond my lake. A park adjacent to the subdivision, 6-month attempt to claim it, withdrawn after the city threatened legal action. A private tennis court, owner intimidated into donating court access. A vacant lot, claimed as HOA green space until the actual owner discovered it and threatened a lawsuit. Then they found the complaint files. 34 formal complaints filed against Belinda in 2 years. She'd responded to none, filed them all away, hidden them. Complaints ranged from harassment to discriminatory enforcement. Several residents had consulted attorneys. The board opened an email for resident input. 127 responses arrived in 24 hours. She fined me $600 for offense that was approved by the previous board. She threatened to report me to code enforcement over garden gnomes. She told me my disability parking placard was probably fake and I should park on the street. Robert's analysis was grim. This isn't HOA management. This is a protection racket. She used fear to control people and diverted funds to personal interests. Patricia made the motion. We need to report the financial issues to authorities. James agreed. And the property fraud attempts. The vote was unanimous. Refer everything to the district attorney. Robert called me that evening. Mr. Caldwell, the board would like to formally apologize. We had no idea the extent of her misconduct. Would you consider meeting with us? I agreed to a community meeting. The media coverage grew. Local Atlanta news picked up the story. HOA President suspended after trespassing incident. Investigation details leaked to the press. Other neighborhoods reported similar experiences with aggressive HOAs. Belinda's response was predictable. She hired a new attorney, expensive, aggressive, sent cease and desist letters to board members, claimed she was the victim of a conspiracy, posted a long Facebook rant that she quickly deleted after the backlash. When an investigation reveals someone's pattern of abuse, does it change how you see the original incident? Tell me your take. The registered letter arrived at Belinda's house on Wednesday. Notice of intent to file criminal complaint. Misappropriation of HOA funds, fraud, criminal trespass. She had 72 hours to respond. Her attorney's response came in 48. A lawsuit against me for $100,000 claiming defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and interference with contract. She'd just made her second worst decision. Nina called me that night, voice tight with controlled anger. Dad, her lawsuit lists Heritage Shield as a defendant too. She's suing my company for providing accurate documentation. Then she smiled. I could hear it through the phone. She just gave us legal justification to release everything, every document, every video, every timeline, discovery's going to destroy her. Belinda's lawsuit was supposed to intimidate me into silence. Instead, it opened the door to her complete destruction. Nina and I retained a property litigation specialist. Heritage Shield assigned in-house counsel. Discovery requests filed immediately. Belinda had to produce documents she'd been hiding. The legal discovery process revealed everything. 2 sets of HOA financial books. One shown to the board, sanitized, acceptable. 1 private ledger with real expenses, evidence of systematic financial manipulation. Belinda's personal emails told the whole story. 1 message to Harold Mitchum, dated May 2021, became the smoking gun. The Caldwell property is perfect for community events, now that the old man is gone. The son lives in the city. Probably won't even notice if we start using it. By the time he does, we'll have established precedent. Possession is 9/10 of the law, right? My attorney handed me a copy. This proves intent. She planned to steal your property through manufactured use history. Nina's insurance investigation uncovered more. Heritage Shield's forensic team found a pattern of suspicious claims from Lakeview Estates. Belinda had filed claims for community property damage on properties the HOA didn't own. Insurance fraud suspected in 3 cases. Criminal referral prepared. Belinda's deposition was a disaster for her case. Hostile, defensive. She contradicted previous statements, claimed she didn't recall 47 times. Her attorney looked increasingly frustrated. The key moment came midway through. Attorney: Mrs. Crowther, did you verify ownership of the Caldwell property before planning your event? Belinda: I did research. Attorney: What research? Belinda: I asked neighbors. They said Roland always let people fish. Attorney: Did you check county property records? Belinda: I didn't need to. Attorney: Why not? Belinda: Because I knew it was community property. Her lawsuit collapsed within weeks. No evidence of defamation. Truth is absolute defense. No evidence of interference. The property was genuinely private. Emotional distress claim undermined by her own aggressive actions. The judge sanctioned her for filing a frivolous lawsuit. We filed a counterclaim. Property damages, $2,390. Legal fees, $8,400. Emotional distress from harassment. Punitive damages for willful trespass. Request for restraining order. The Lakeview community rallied. A petition circulated for Belinda's permanent removal. 89% of homeowners signed within 1 week. Media coverage intensified. The board held another emergency meeting. The vote was unanimous. Permanent removal from all HOA positions. Their formal statement went public. The Board of Lakeview Estates HOA has removed Belinda Crowther from all positions effective immediately. We are cooperating with authorities investigating financial misconduct and extending our sincere apologies to affected parties. When someone sues you for telling the truth, how do you respond? Legal action or let karma handle it? Drop your strategy below. The DeKalb County District Attorney's Office called on Friday afternoon. Not my FBI office, my personal cell. Mr. Caldwell, this is Assistant DA Jennifer Park. We've reviewed the HOA financial records and the criminal referral. We're opening a grand jury investigation into Mrs. Crowther's conduct. Given your position with the FBI, we wanted to notify you directly. This is going to be high profile. I thanked her and hung up. Nina was visiting that evening, sitting on the dock where her grandfather's ashes had been scattered. How do you feel? She asked. I watched the sunset over the water. Like Dad would have handled this the same way. Like justice doesn't always feel good, but it's still necessary. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This isn't over. You'll pay for destroying my life. Belinda couldn't stop, even when stopping was her only option. The district attorney didn't just file charges, they filed a case study in how power corrupts. The grand jury proceedings took 3 weeks. 14 witnesses called. Boxes of financial documentation, video evidence from the lake incident, testimony from defrauded residents. The charges came down hard. Count 1, theft by taking, HOA funds. Felony count 2, criminal trespass. Misdemeanor count 3, criminal damage to property. Misdemeanor count 4, computer forgery, falsified HOA records. Felony count 5, wire fraud, insurance claims on non-HOA property. Federal charges pending. DA Jennifer Park held a press conference. This case represents a betrayal of community trust. Ms. Crowther used her position to enrich herself, harass residents, and attempt to illegally acquire private property. The media frenzy was immediate. Local news covered the story extensively. HOA reform advocates cited the case as an example. A national outlet picked it up. When HOA presidents go rogue. Belinda's mugshot became a local meme. Belinda posted $25,000 bond, maintained innocence, claimed political persecution, blamed my FBI position for intimidating prosecutors. Few believed her. The new HOA board began community healing immediately. Robert Chen was elected president unanimously. Complete financial transparency implemented. Monthly public meetings established. Resident advisory committee formed. All fines from Belinda's tenure reviewed for legitimacy. The refund process began. 47 residents received improper fine refunds. Total, $34,000 returned to homeowners. Public apology issued to each resident. Legal fees reimbursed where applicable. Robert called to arrange a meeting. Mr. Caldwell, on behalf of Lakeview Estates, we want to compensate you for the damage and harassment. I declined the money. Keep your money. Fix your community. That's compensation enough. Robert hesitated, then continued. There's something else. Some residents asked if you'd ever consider allowing supervised community access to the lake. Not events, just fishing, with your permission and oversight. I thought about Dad, how he loved sharing this place. Let me think about it. My father loved teaching people to fish. Maybe there's a way to honor that. Belinda's isolation was complete. Neighbors avoided her. Former friends distanced themselves. She stopped attending any community events. A for sale sign appeared in her yard. The trial date was set for November 2021, 5 months away. The prosecution was confident. The defense struggled to find a strategy. Belinda rejected multiple plea deals. If someone who wronged you faced criminal charges, would you feel vindicated or just sad? Share your honest reaction. 3 months after the lake incident, I was cleaning out my father's old tackle box when I found a journal entry from 1995. Took the Henderson kids fishing today. Their dad lost his job. Family struggling. Spent 3 hours teaching them to cast. This lake isn't just mine. It's meant to bring people joy. That's the whole point. I sat on that dock for an hour, thinking. Dad had shared this place because it mattered to him. Belinda had tried to take it because it mattered to her ego. There was a difference. That weekend, I called Robert Chen. Let's talk about that community access program. But we do it right. My father's way, not Belinda's. Facing 15 years in prison, Belinda finally learned what the word compromise actually meant. Her defense collapsed during trial preparation. Video evidence was irrefutable. Financial records were damning. Witness testimony was overwhelming. Her attorney recommended a plea deal. The prosecution's offer was firm. Plead guilty to theft and fraud charges. Trespass and property damage charges dismissed in exchange for civil settlement. Sentence: 5 years probation, 200 hours community service. Restitution: $34,000 to the HOA, $15,000 to Nina and me. Permanent ban from serving on any HOA board. No contact order with the Caldwell family. Belinda took 3 weeks to decide. Reality finally broke through. Trial meant prison time. Her family pressured her to accept. Her attorney made it clear this was the best option available. The plea hearing filled the courtroom with Lakeview residents. Judge: Ms. Crowther, do you understand you're pleading guilty to felony theft? Belinda, barely audible: Yes, Your Honor. Judge: Do you accept responsibility for misappropriating HOA funds? Long pause. Belinda: Yes. The victim impact statements cut deep. An elderly homeowner spoke first. She fined us into selling our home. We lost our retirement dream because she enjoyed wielding power. A single parent followed. She harassed me for months over toys in my yard. My kids were afraid to play outside. I kept mine brief, powerful. She tried to steal the last physical connection I had to my father. Not because she needed it, because she wanted it. That's not leadership, that's theft of memory. The judge added conditions beyond the plea agreement. Mandatory counseling for narcissistic behavior, financial literacy course, public apology letter to the community, payment plan, $1,000 per month until restitution complete. Belinda's court-ordered apology was read aloud, then posted to the Lakeview Estates website. I abused my position as HOA president. I misappropriated community funds. I harassed residents. I attempted to illegally claim private property. I am deeply sorry for the harm I caused. I accept full responsibility for my actions. Written by her attorney. Delivered with zero emotion. The community response was relief, not celebration. Most residents just wanted to move forward. Some expressed sympathy for how far she'd fallen. General consensus: consequences were appropriate. The civil settlement was finalized. $15,000 paid to Nina and me. Formal written apology. Permanent restraining order. 500 feet minimum distance. Agreement never to contact the Caldwell family. Heritage Shield's claim settled separately. Belinda's house sold below market value. Desperation sale. She moved to a suburb 40 miles away. Took a retail job to afford restitution payments. Deleted all social media accounts. Attempted a fresh start. When someone who hurt you actually faces real consequences, does it bring closure? Or does something still feel incomplete? Be honest in the comments. The check arrived in October. $15,000, Belinda's first restitution payment. Nina asked if I was going to cash it. I looked at the lake, the dock, the water where Dad's memory lived. Yeah, I said. And I'm using it to build something he would have loved. 2 weeks later, construction began on the Roland Caldwell Community Fishing Program. A memorial that would let local kids learn to fish for free, supervised on weekends. Dad's lake wouldn't be stolen. It would be shared. The way he always intended. My father's legacy wasn't going to be defined by the woman who tried to steal it. It would be defined by what we built in his memory. The Roland Caldwell Community Fishing Program launched in September 2021. Free fishing lessons for kids ages 8 to 16. Every Saturday, 9 a.m. to noon. Limited to 10 kids per session for safety and supervision. All equipment provided. Catch and release only. Parent or guardian observation required. Funding came from multiple sources. Belinda's restitution provided the initial setup. Heritage Shield corporate sponsorship followed. A local sporting goods store donated equipment. The Lakeview Estates HOA contributed as a goodwill gesture. I served as primary instructor. Nina handled weekend administrative support. Robert Chen volunteered as supervisor. 3 other experienced anglers from the community joined the team. The first session brought 10 nervous, excited kids. I opened with the truth. My father taught me to fish on this dock 35 years ago. He believed fishing teaches patience, respect for nature, and how to be quiet enough to hear yourself think. Today, I'm teaching you what he taught me. The kids' reactions were pure. Initial awkwardness melted into joy with the first successful cast. The first caught fish brought screaming excitement. 3 hours of genuine engagement. Parents stood watching, visibly moved. After 1 month, the testimonials poured in. A parent wrote, "My son has ADHD. He can't sit still for 10 minutes normally. He just spent 3 hours completely focused on fishing. This program is changing his life." A single mother shared, "Free weekend activity that's actually educational and safe. This is a blessing for families like mine." A veteran added, "Trevor taught my grandson the same knot Roland taught him. That's legacy." Local media covered the transformation. FBI agent turns HOA nightmare into community asset. The news segment showed kids fishing, laughing, learning. A reporter asked the obvious question. "Mr. Caldwell, how does this honor your father?" Dad believed property rights mattered, but sharing mattered more. "This program does both. It's my property. I'm choosing to share it. That's the difference." Belinda saw the news coverage from a distance. The restraining order kept her away. She made no public comment. Friends reported she seemed broken. Lakeview Estates transformed under new leadership. Transparency reports published monthly. Resident input actively sought. Reasonable enforcement replaced intimidation. Community events were properly planned and funded. Property values actually increased due to positive reputation. Robert Chen summarized the change perfectly. "We learned that HOA boards exist to serve residents, not control them. Belinda taught us what not to do. Trevor taught us what we should do. My personal healing came through teaching. Grief transformed into legacy. Connection to my father grew through sharing his passion." Nina saw me smile genuinely for the first time since Dad's death. One Saturday, Nina watched the kids fish. "Grandpa would have loved this." "He is loving this," I replied. Somewhere. Have you ever turned something painful into something meaningful? How did it change you? Share your transformation story. On the last Saturday of October, a boy named James caught his first bass, a 3-pounder that fought hard. His grandmother stood on the shore crying, holding her phone. Later, she approached me. My husband, James's grandfather, died of COVID last year. He always wanted to teach James to fish, but never got the chance. You just gave my grandson the gift his grandfather couldn't. She showed me her phone. She'd been video calling her husband's brother in Florida, who'd watched the whole thing. "This program isn't just about fish," she said. "It's about what we lose, what we keep, and what we pass on." That's when I finally understood. Dad's lake was never mine to keep. It was mine to protect, so I could share it right. 1 year after an HOA president tried to steal my father's legacy, I stood on the same dock teaching lesson number 52, and finally understood what justice really means. June 2022. 1 year later. The fishing program had completed 52 sessions, 187 kids taught to fish, 0 incidents, 0 complaints, a waiting list of 43 families. The program was featured in the State Outdoor Recreation magazine. Lakeview Estates thrived under new leadership. 0 ethics complaints in 12 months. Resident satisfaction survey, 94% approval. Property values up 8%. Regional average was 5%. 2 other HOAs requested Robert's advice on reform. The community became a model for ethical HOA governance. Belinda's status was simple. She'd completed 6 months of probation, 48 months remaining. Paid $7,000 of $49,000 restitution, working retail management. Divorced. Her husband filed 3 months after sentencing. No social media presence. Living a quiet, anonymous life. There was no redemption arc, no apology beyond the court-mandated statement, no attempt at reconciliation, no indication of genuine remorse. She was simply gone from the community. Her legacy, a cautionary tale. Lakeview Estates requested permission for a community gathering at the lake, an anniversary event. My response came with conditions. Yes, but here are the rules. The gathering was done properly this time. Formal written request submitted. Insurance certificate provided. My explicit written permission documented. Supervised access only. Donation to the fishing program. Community thank you presented to me. Robert addressed 60 attendees with perfect clarity. 1 year ago, someone tried to take this property without asking. Today, we're here because we asked respectfully and were given permission generously. This is how community works. This is what Belinda never understood. A letter arrived in my mailbox that week. No return address. Postmarked from Belinda's new town. You got what you wanted. I lost everything. I hope you sleep well knowing you destroyed a person's entire life over a lake. No signature needed. I showed it to Nina. Are you going to respond? No. She still thinks this was about the lake. It was never about the lake. It was about respect, boundaries, and the law. She destroyed her own life by refusing to accept any of those things. I filed it away. No anger, no satisfaction. Just done. The final fishing session brought a young girl named Riley. She caught her first fish, a tiny bluegill, barely worth the effort. What's your name? I asked. Riley. My dad said your dad was the best fisherman in Atlanta. My throat tightened. He was pretty good. What did your dad tell you about him? That he was nice, that he taught people, that he loved this lake. That's exactly right. Want to learn the knot he taught me? Riley nodded eagerly. The sun hung low over the water, turning the lake into liquid gold. Riley's fingers fumbled with the fishing line as I guided them through the knot Dad had shown me when I was her age. Behind us, families gathered for the community event, the one done right, with permission and respect. The dock creaked the same way it had for 30 years. The fish jumped where they always had. And for the first time since COVID took my father, the lake felt like it was supposed to. Alive, shared, sacred. Here's what 12 months taught me. Property rights matter, boundaries matter, laws matter, but legacy, real legacy, isn't about what you own. It's about what you protect so others can experience it. Belinda tried to take this lake because she saw unused potential. She was half right. It was potential. But it wasn't unused. It was waiting. Waiting for the right way to honor the man who built it. Waiting for kids like Riley to learn what patience feels like. Waiting for me to understand that protecting something means knowing when to share it. So here's my question. What would you have done if someone tried to steal your family's legacy? Would you have fought like I did, or handled it differently? Drop your honest answer in the comments. If this story showed you that standing up for what's right matters, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel for more stories about regular people who refuse to back down when entitled Karens thought they could win. Share this video with anyone dealing with HOA nightmares. They need to know that bullies with clipboards can be stopped. Comment below. Have you dealt with HOA abuse? What happened? I read every single story, and your experience might help someone else facing the same fight. Remember, your property rights matter. Your family's legacy matters. Your boundaries matter. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say no to someone who's never heard it before. I'm Trevor Caldwell. This was how an HOA president tried to steal my father's lake and learned that some things can't be taken, only given. Thanks for watching. Now go stand your ground. Riley held up her bluegill, grinning. I snapped a photo. Later, I'd print it and add it to the wall in the small shed by the lake. A growing gallery of kids who learned to fish where Roland Caldwell taught his son 35 years ago. The lake isn't mine anymore. It's theirs. It's everyone's. It always was. The difference now? Everyone knows they're guests, and guests ask permission.